There's a white powder that's probably stored in your kitchen right now, and it might be hiding one of the most underrated secrets for the intimate health of men over 60. But before you think I'm exaggerating, hear me out. Because what I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes isn't theory or guesswork. It's pure biochemistry. And when you understand what this compound does inside your body, you'll wonder why no one explained it to you before. I'm Dr. Natália Castro, and I'm going to explain this with all the clarity the topic deserves. Let's get straight to the point. After 60, the male body goes through a series of silent changes that most doctors don't explain in enough depth. Everyone talks about testosterone as if it were the only piece of the puzzle. But the truth is, the problem is much more complex than a single hormone. And that's where most men get lost. Because while they're looking for the answer in a single blood test, there's an entire internal system quietly collapsing. Your arteries are getting stiffer. The inner lining of your blood vessels, which doctors call the endothelium, is producing less and less of an essential molecule. I'll explain exactly what it does in a moment. And there's a state of acidity in your body that's sabotaging practically everything, from circulation to nerve function. And here's the part that almost no one knows. This silent acidity could be one of the biggest villains of your intimate vitality. I'm not talking about stomach acidity. I'm talking about a mild metabolic acidity that builds up over the years due to modern diets, chronic stress, and aging itself. And do you know what happens when your blood becomes just a little more acidic than it should? The consequences are devastating, but I'll show you each one throughout this video. And more importantly, I'll show you how to correct it with something absurdly simple. I'm talking about baking soda. Yes, that very one, but not in the way you imagine. It's not your grandma's home remedy. It's a mineral compound that, when used correctly, triggers a cascade of reactions in your body that can transform how it responds in intimate moments. And I need you to understand one thing before we continue. I'm not going to give you a miracle recipe. I'm going to explain, mechanism by mechanism, with full awareness, why this works. And when you understand the logic behind it, you'll see it's not magic. It's the human body's chemistry working as it should. Let me tell you what happened with Mr. Giraldo. He came to my office at 68 years old, discouraged, without energy, and told me in a low voice that it had been more than 2 years since he could have a satisfying relationship with his wife. He had tried expensive supplements, imported formulas. Nothing worked. I looked at his tests and saw something I see very often, a body in acidic imbalance. I proposed something simple, a morning protocol with baking soda. He looked at me skeptically but agreed. And what happened 3 weeks later? I'll tell you soon, because first you need to understand why this works. Without understanding the why, the information loses its power. First mechanism, blood pH and circulatory fluidity. Your blood needs to be at a very specific pH, around 7.4, slightly alkaline. When that number drops, even just a little, the consequences are huge. Your blood becomes thicker, heavier. The red blood cells, which are responsible for transporting oxygen, lose their flexibility. They become rigid and can't pass through the smaller vessels. And guess which vessels are extremely small and depend on perfect blood flow? Exactly, the ones that irrigate the tissue responsible for firmness during intimacy. Baking soda is a natural alkalizer. When you ingest it in the right dose, it helps neutralize that excess acidity in the blood. And the effect is like unclogging a congested road. Suddenly, the flow returns. The blood becomes more fluid, lighter. The red blood cells regain their ability to compress and pass where they need to. And this reflects throughout the body, including where it matters most. But that's just the beginning because it doesn't help to have blood flowing if it's not delivering what it needs to deliver. And here comes the second mechanism, which is even more surprising. Hemoglobin is the molecule that lives inside red blood cells and carries oxygen. It's what picks up oxygen in the lungs and delivers it to the tissues. But there's a detail few people know. When the environment is acidic, hemoglobin clings to the oxygen and doesn't release it. It's like it's squeezing the package so tightly that when it arrives at the destination, it can't open its hand. The tissue ends up without enough oxygen. And without oxygen, there's no firmness, no response, no vitality. By correcting the pH with baking soda, you're freeing hemoglobin to do its job. Each red blood cell that arrives at the destination can deliver its full load of oxygen, not just a fraction. Imagine a delivery truck that before only unloaded half its cargo, now it arrives and unloads everything. The difference is brutal, and while all this is happening in the circulation, there's a third silent enemy working against you: inflammation. I know that word might seem distant, like something from a hospital, but the inflammation I'm talking about is different. It's low-grade, chronic, silent inflammation that corrodes the inside of your blood vessels without you feeling anything. It damages that inner lining I mentioned at the beginning, the endothelium. And when the endothelium is damaged, it loses the ability to produce a molecule that's absolutely central to everything we're discussing here. That molecule is called nitric oxide. Comment below from which city you're watching because I get messages from men all over Brazil going through exactly this situation. And it's important for you to know you're not alone. Back to it, nitric oxide is the master key. It's the chemical signal that tells the muscles in the arteries to relax, open up, and allow blood to enter in large volumes. Without enough nitric oxide, the floodgates stay closed. It doesn't matter how much blood you have available if the doors don't open. And chronic inflammation is exactly what destroys your body's nitric oxide factory. Baking soda has documented anti-inflammatory properties in studies. By reducing the overall acidic load on the body, it decreases the production of inflammatory cytokines, the molecules that promote and sustain this inflammation. The result: cleaner, more flexible, less inflamed arteries, and a healthier endothelium that starts producing nitric oxide as it should. Remember Mr. Samuel? 71 years old with mild hypertension controlled by medication, his blood pressure stabilized, but intimate function remained compromised. When he incorporated baking soda into his morning protocol, something he had already given up hoping for, it happened. After a month, he told me emotionally that he had started having spontaneous responses in the morning. In medicine, that's a classic sign of restored vascular health. It's the body saying that the pelvic arteries are clean and functioning again. But now I need you to pay attention to what comes next because this is something most videos on men's health completely ignore. And it has to do with your liver and kidneys. These two organs are your body's filters. Every day they process and eliminate toxins, metabolic waste, acidic byproducts. When there's an acidic overload in the body, they work beyond capacity, become overburdened, exhausted. And a tired liver doesn't metabolize hormones properly. Do you know what that means? It means the balance between testosterone and estrogen gets messed up, and that directly affects your desire, i.e., energy, and physical response. Baking soda acts as support for these organs, relieving the acidic load and facilitating the elimination of waste through urine. When the liver functions well, the hormonal profile improves. And when the hormonal profile improves, the body responds. And speaking of hormones, there's another mechanism I need to explain that will surprise you. It has to do with abdominal fat. That belly many men accumulate with age isn't just an aesthetic issue, it's a hormonal bomb. Visceral fat, which accumulates around the organs, produces an enzyme called aromatase. And what does aromatase do? It takes your testosterone and converts it into estrogen, literally transforming your male hormone into a female one. And there's more. An acidic body has a greater tendency to crave sugar, processed foods, fast food. It's a vicious cycle. You eat poorly, acidify the body, crave more poor food, and the fat builds up. Baking soda, by balancing the pH, helps break this cycle. When the internal environment stabilizes, the cravings decrease. Over time, it becomes easier to lose that abdominal fat. Less fat means less aromatase, more free testosterone available. And more free testosterone means more desire, more energy, more vitality. But it doesn't help to have testosterone circulating if your body's cells can't hear its message. And that leads me to the next mechanism: receptor sensitivity. With age, something similar to insulin resistance can happen. The testosterone receptors in your cells become less sensitive. It's like someone shouting in a noisy room. The message is there, but no one can hear it. Metabolic acidosis is one of the factors contributing to this cellular deafness. By correcting the pH, you clear the noise. Suddenly, testosterone's message arrives clear and strong. The cells respond, desire returns, physical response improves. Now remember Mr. Giraldo? That patient who arrived discouraged and agreed to try the protocol. After 3 weeks, he returned to the office with a different look. He told me he felt like his body had awakened. It wasn't just an intimate issue, his energy during the day had improved, his mood too. And yes, he regained responses he thought he'd lost forever. The most impressive part is that he didn't change anything else radically. What changed was the internal environment, the biochemistry. And I still haven't finished explaining everything because there's a mechanism related to cellular energy that's absolutely fascinating and that almost no one discusses when talking about this topic. Inside each cell of the tissue responsible for the intimate response, there are thousands of mitochondria. Mitochondria are the power plants of the cells. For the blood filling that generates firmness to happen, these cells need a huge amount of energy. And when the environment is acidic, mitochondria function poorly, produce less energy. It's like trying to start a car with a weak battery. Baking soda helps create the ideal environment for mitochondria to work at maximum efficiency. More available energy means a faster, firmer, and longer-lasting response. But what few people know is that with age, mitochondria not only lose efficiency, but also start producing more toxic waste. These are called reactive oxygen species, like exhaust from an old engine. These wastes damage cell membranes, proteins, even DNA. And in an acidic environment, this problem multiplies. Baking soda, by normalizing the pH, makes mitochondria function more cleanly. Fewer toxic wastes, less cellular damage. And there's something even more elegant. The bicarbonate ion directly participates in the energy production cycle inside the mitochondria. So you're not just cleaning the environment, you're providing raw material for the cells to produce more energy. The result isn't just a better response in a single moment, it's greater recovery capacity, more consistency. And now I need to tell you about a connection that might seem strange at first glance, but that science has been demonstrating with increasing clarity: the connection between your gut and your intimate health. Your gut houses trillions of bacteria. This ecosystem, called the microbiome, influences practically everything in your body, from neurotransmitter production to systemic inflammation levels. When the intestinal environment becomes too acidic, beneficial bacteria suffer and harmful ones proliferate. Harmful bacteria produce toxins that can leak into the bloodstream in a condition experts call leaky gut. These toxins trigger an inflammatory cascade that affects the entire body, including the blood vessels you need to keep healthy. Baking soda ingested on an empty stomach helps temporarily neutralize acidity in the upper digestive tract. But the most important effect is helping maintain the integrity of the intestinal barrier. Fewer toxins in the blood mean less inflammation. Less inflammation means a healthier endothelium. And a healthier endothelium means more nitric oxide. Everything connects. And there's one more mechanism I need to explain before giving you the full protocol. Subclinical insulin resistance. Even if you're not diabetic, many men develop mild insulin resistance with age, where cells don't respond well to this hormone. This creates another vicious cycle. Insulin resistance promotes abdominal fat accumulation. Abdominal fat worsens insulin resistance, and insulin resistance directly damages the vascular endothelium and impairs nitric oxide production. The baking soda protocol acts as a natural insulin sensitizer. By improving tissue pH, cells regain the ability to respond adequately. And when this cycle breaks, the positive effects multiply. If you followed along this far and feel this content could make a difference in your life, I've prepared a medical guide to avoid the mistakes that damage the prostate after 60. It's available in the pinned comment right below the video. It's complementary material that will help you protect one of the most vulnerable areas of men's health at this stage. It's worth checking out. Now, there's still one last mechanism that deserves attention: the effect of baking soda on blood viscosity. With aging, blood tends to become thicker and more prone to clotting. And for a satisfactory, intimate response, you need rapid and voluminous flow. Thick blood doesn't flow quickly. It's like trying to push honey through a thin straw. Metabolic acidosis significantly worsens this viscosity. Baking soda, by correcting the pH, makes the blood less thick, less viscous. Flow improves. The speed at which it reaches where it needs to increases. It's like swapping out old, thick engine oil for new, light, fluid one. Everything works with less resistance. Now let's get to what matters: the nervous system. This is a point many ignore, but it's absolutely crucial. For an adequate, intimate response, the parasympathetic nervous system needs to be dominant. It's the relaxation, rest mode. It's what opens the floodgates for blood flow. But chronic stress keeps the sympathetic system hyperactivated, the fight or flight mode, which does exactly the opposite: closes everything, directs blood to muscles and the brain, reduces flow to areas the body considers non-essential in that moment. Chronic stress acidifies the body, and an acidic body keeps the nervous system in a state of permanent alert. Baking soda, by reducing this overall acidity, has an indirect calming effect on the nervous system. It favors balance between the two systems, allows the parasympathetic to act when necessary, reduces that anxiety many men feel, which alone can completely sabotage the body's response. And now the protocol is simple, but it needs to be followed consistently. Dissolve between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda in a glass of warm water. Add the juice of half a freshly squeezed lemon or a teaspoon of organic apple cider vinegar. It might seem contradictory to use lemon, which is acidic, with baking soda. But once metabolized, lemon has an alkalizing effect on the body. Plus, it's rich in vitamin C and bioflavonoids, which are powerful antioxidants that further protect the endothelium. The combination is synergistic, much more potent than baking soda alone. Take it on an empty stomach in the morning and wait at least 20 minutes before eating anything. Mr. Bernardo, 74 years old, followed this ritual every day for a month. When he returned to the office, he told me he felt more alive and present than he had in years. His wife noticed the difference before he even told me. It wasn't placebo, it was his body responding to a rebalancing that had been pending for years. But I need to be honest with you about one thing. This isn't an instant solution. Your body didn't fall into imbalance overnight, and it won't correct itself overnight. The first signs, like more energy and better digestion, usually appear in the first week. Changes in intimate response generally take 3 to 8 weeks of consistent use. Patience is part of the treatment. All these mechanisms I've explained to you: mitochondrial protection, gut health, insulin sensitivity, blood viscosity, nervous balance, nitric oxide production. They don't work in isolation. They connect, they potentiate each other. When you correct the pH, you're not fixing one piece. You're reconnecting an entire system that was operating below minimum. That's what men like Geraldo and Bernardo experienced. It wasn't a single effect, it was a reconnection. And an important warning before wrapping up: if you have uncontrolled hypertension, serious heart or kidney problems, or are on a severe sodium-restricted diet, talk to your doctor before starting this protocol. For the vast majority of men, it's safe and well tolerated, but every body is unique and deserves individualized attention. Your intimate vitality is a direct reflection of what's happening inside your body. And often, what's missing isn't an expensive medication or a complex procedure. What's missing is giving your body the basic conditions to function as it was designed. A simple glass of water with baking soda, taken the right way and regularly, could be the turning point you've been looking for. If this kind of content helps you, if it makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel, because here we speak clearly and without beating around the bush about what almost no one has the courage to explain. And share your experience in the comments, because your story might be exactly what another man needed to hear today. Your recovery journey starts now with a simple decision, and your body will thank you.